only interested in one issue revolving reproductive rights. We all think about bigger things. The war on women is made up, it's fictitious, and it's built to scare women and ultimately to buy their votes. I'm looking forward to the panel today to tell you more about the research that our organization, Colorado Women's Alliance, has conducted on this issue, and a recent investigation by whosaidyoussaid.com that exposes some of the liberal left's agenda on widening this gap for political gain. It's the ultimate shiny object to distract. You've seen the ads. It's a distraction for women so they aren't paying attention to the bigger issues that face us every day. The economic war on women. I think we'll be talking about that a little bit today. Joblessness, poverty, food stamps, the fact that economic policies that are in place today are hurting women in Colorado and across our country. It affects our personal independence and it affects our very financial security. That's a real war on women. And it also distracts us from atrocities that are going on across the globe. Really? We're concerned about birth control in America and that's considered a right that's being taken away from us? When there are women across our world that are dealing with issues every day of not having any control over their independence, are not being educated, are being controlled in ways American women can't even fathom. What are the bigger dreams that we have for our daughters and our granddaughters? What are the bigger dreams we have for ourselves? Victimhood, chronic dependency. What matters more than the dream I have for my daughter, frankly, is the dream that she has for herself. You see, I'm very proud of my daughter. She dreams about economic independence, empowerment. She has the freedom to excel and the freedom to make her own life decisions. Thank you so much.
Debbie. Well, y'all here in Colorado are blessed. You have some wonderfully strong women leaders. The next we're going to hear from Krista Kafer. Krista is director of the Colorado's Futures Project, which is a nonpartisan research and educational project supported by the Independent Women's Forum. The forum does great work. I know many of you are familiar with their efforts. Krista provides analysis of many important issues, and her focus is the economy, healthcare, energy, and education. All tough topics, and does a great job providing us with the statistics and the research to back up our conservative platform. She's a Colorado native, and she was actually working in DC at the Capitol for 9 years, working with members of Congress, and also as the senior expert on education for the Heritage Foundation. In addition to her work at CFP, Krista is the co-host of Backbone Radio, which airs here in Denver every Sunday evening on 710 KMUS. So y'all should definitely tune in if you're local. Whether she's discussing issues on the airwaves or participating in projects at CFP, she has a very compelling counter-narrative to the whole women being dependent on government myth that the left is trying to exploit. I'm really excited to hear her. Please welcome Krista Kafer.
And thank you for that introduction. I don't know if y'all saw her, but she was standing kind of over there. She had short platinum blonde hair. It was clearly bleached. She had a green nose ring. She was a total liberal. I mean, really liberal, like to the left of the president. Oh, and she let you know it too. She just keeps saying over and over again about how Republicans hurt people and they don't care. And Democrats want to fix things, and there's a war on women out there. I hope you saw her. Did you see her? Well, you're seeing her now, actually. That's the person I was 20 years ago. I have to admit, I look a little bit better with darker blonde hair and not that short platinum stuff, but I know it might be kind of hard to believe that that was me once upon a time. And once upon a time, the war on women rhetoric worked on me. In fact, I would have been out there waving the flag and saying, I'm ready to go to battle against these people who are exerting a war on me as a woman. And they were tapping into things that were very real for me. Anxieties about the future, concern about the poor, concern about injustice. And if you think about what the president delivered last night, what the Democrat Party is doing, what the commercials are all about, particularly those that are geared to women, it is tapping into those two things. Anxiety about the future. Who will take care of me? Who will help me when things go wrong? And what about injustice? When I see a child that can't read, when I see a person who's too poor to be able to put food on the table, when I see these things, who will help them? And so the Democrat Party comes in with their rhetoric and says, well, we'll help them because we care. We'll help them. And they're able to satisfy those very real anxieties. Now, you might have noticed I'm a little bit different than the person that I was 20 years ago. In fact, the war on women has absolutely no effect on me as rhetoric does now. In fact, I'm fighting that very specious rhetoric that is coming out of the Democrat Party. The question is, how did I get from there to here? And I will say that I actually remember the very moment that it happened. I was walking down the street. I was sort of near North High School, for those of you, or East High School, for those of you who know where that is. And I remember this thought came into my head. It said, Krista, you say you care about the poor, but what are you doing about the poor? And it was that cognitive dissonance that lodged like a splinter in my mind. The value of caring for the poor in contrast to my lack of action. That cognitive dissonance. And that put me on the road to the person I am today. A person who espouses smaller government, limited government, that protects our rights to life, liberty, and property. And also a very active civil society that contributes personally their own money, their own time as volunteers. But it's cognitive dissonance, that one thought that was like a piano dropping out of the sky, that put me on that journey was more powerful than every argument that every conservative had given to me up until that point. Cognitive dissonance. Because it snuck in like a splinter. It never aroused my defenses. And previously to that, when people came at me, they would say, you know, Krista, you're wrong. Krista, you got all the facts wrong. Let me give you the facts. Let me show you how wrong you are. And I would put up a defense and say, and I'd come back at them, waving that sword. And so I would say that cognitive dissonance is far more powerful than the sword of powerful rhetoric. And that's why I started the Colorado's Future Project with the help of the Independent Women's Forum, is that we are giving the tools to you as well as the tools on that website for people to make that journey. I sometimes characterize it as a soft place to land, because you're not going to see anything on there about Fox News. I don't even call it the president by name. I don't talk about Romney, I don't talk about Republicans or Democrats. I simply lay out cases in the forms of analogies, stories, and indeed facts to show people that there is in fact a better way. And there's a quiz on there that people can take that will start that process of cognitive dissonance, that will show them what they think and what really is may not actually be the case. There are some very powerful things on there, even though they've got a bit of a soft touch. And so as we go forward with this panel, I hope that you will start to have a little bit of hope in your heart for that lost daughter, lost sister, lost friend, the one for whom the war on rhetoric, or the war on women, that divisive rhetoric is such a powerful weapon, that there is hope that that person can go from the crazy, platinum blonde-haired girl with the nose ring to the person that you see today. And that is by using very powerful devices of using truth in a way that is soft, that plants a seed of doubt into the heart, and plants a seed of doubt that will eventually allow them to see that the conservative choices, the conservative answers to very real anxieties about the future and very real anxieties about injustice work far, far better than those on the left. So I will give you this today. For that lost person that you know, there is hope. We can end the war on women rhetoric by having a rhetoric strategy of our own. And as we go forward with this panel, I hope that we give you plenty of ideas on how you can do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krista. It's great to hear testimonies like that, and really encourages us that change, the right kind of change is possible. Our next speaker has had so many groundbreaking accomplishments, and I'm thrilled that she could join us today. The Honorable Cynthia Loomis was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2008. She graduated from the University of Wyoming, and in 1979, she became the youngest woman ever elected to the Wyoming legislature. She then returned to the University of Wyoming for a law degree. She clerked at the Wyoming Supreme Court, practiced law, and served a total of 14 years in the Wyoming House and Senate, where she focused on natural resources and taxation issues. Certainly not easy issues to tackle, but she did it very well. We're very inspired by her example. In 1998, she was elected the Wyoming State Treasurer and served 8 years in that capacity, advancing many significant reforms. Please help me welcome the Honorable Cynthia Loomis.
Good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Loomis. I'm the Congressman from Wyoming. And I want to use my introductory time to tell you what I believe both parties are doing wrong when it comes to communicating with women. There are two elements to communicating with women. Now, I believe this is true also with minorities. The message matters, and the Democrats have forgotten that. The Democrats elected a messenger to be president. People liked the way he looked. They liked that he talked about hope and change. But he had no message, no budget, no solutions. That's why Americans are disillusioned in this election. They had the right messenger, and they had the wrong message. Republicans have the right message. This election is about the debt, the deficit, jobs, and the economy. That's what women care about. That's what Asians care about. That's what blacks care about. That's what Hispanics care about. I know because I've been traveling all over my state and other states, listening to men and women together and separately, as I serve as a surrogate for Governor Mitt Romney to certain events. I hear the very same questions, posed the very same way, the very same frustrations, the very same fears about the future of our country. So I know that this election is about the debt, the deficit, jobs, and the economy for women, for men, and for ethnics of all kinds in this country. We have the answer. We have the right message. So why are there still so many undecideds? Why is there still a gender gap between men and women in this country? Why do Republicans and independent women, especially single women, tend to gravitate more towards the other messenger? And I would argue it's in part because we don't always have the right messenger. The Democrats get the messengers right. They get strong women talking about policy that matters to Democrats. They get strong Asians, strong Hispanics, strong blacks talking to those groups in a way they understand it about their message, their liberal message. We don't always do that in the conservative side of the aisle. We don't always put our strong women, our strong Hispanics, our strong blacks, our strong Asians center stage to talk about these things. The message matters, but the messenger matters too. We can beat them in the message war. We have the right message. We now need to beat them with the messengers. Case in point. We have fabulous messengers. messengers out there. And they are embattled in this campaign. Francisco Canseco, Kiko Canseco, Republican Hispanic member of Congress, fighting for his life in his district in Texas. He beat a Democrat. The Democrats are scared to death of Kiko Canseco because he delivered the State of the Union response into the nation in Spanish. And when he goes to debate and listen to the way that messages are conveyed in Spanish to Spanish-speaking Americans, he is communicating in Spanish. They hate that. We have to help Kiko Canseco get reelected so we have people like Kiko Canseco. People like Alan West. They can't stand Alan West because he speaks a conservative message and he doesn't look like the typical conservative messenger. We need to protect these types of people. There are 9 members of Congress on this agenda today. 9. Fabulous people. I note that 8 of them were men and 1 is a woman. I also note that the woman is on a noontime panel and the men had prime time solo speaking slots. That's part of our problem. It is not a critique. It was done with no malice. We're thoughtful people. We can figure this out. We need to take our messengers and put them in positions of prominence so they can articulate conservative messages to the right audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your insight. Our next speaker, Kate Obenchain, is author of the new book, Divider in Chief, The Fraud of Hope and Change. And I really encourage y'all to get a copy and read up on this before the election. Kate is a popular speaker and commentator. She's on national TV, on the radio, and she's really spent her career championing the message of liberty and emphasizing to young people the blessings of freedom that we have here in America. Kate served as chairman of the Virginia GOP from 2003 to 2006, where she led the fight against tax increases and really took on the expanding role of government. She was also an advisor to former Governor George Allen and served as his Senate Chief of Staff. Most recently, she served as Vice President of the Young Americas Foundation and the Reagan Ranch. Kate, that's right, we love YAF and the Reagan Ranch. Kate is also a member of the Claire Booth Luce Policy Institute's Board of Directors. They're a wonderful organization that I've been blessed to be a part of over the last several years. And I've known Kate for a long time. She's really been such an inspiration to me and to countless other young women. So I'm thrilled that she's here today. If you can help me welcome Kate Obenchain.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you all so much for being here. It's great to see you. What a group of courageous women I'm up here with. Thank you so much. You know, I wrote this book, Divider in Chief, because I believe Barack Obama was elected president for one reason only, that he was going to bring us all together. He was going to heal our wounds and unite us. And on literally day 3, he met with Republicans on Capitol Hill, I think 1 of 2 times that he met with Republicans. And Eric Cantor very articulately laid out the Republican position on taxes. And the president, who 3 days earlier in his inaugural address had said, I want to listen to you, especially when we disagree. Okay, so Eric Cantor lays out the Republican position on taxes, and the president says, Eric, I won, you lost, I trump you on that. Okay, there we go. So much for healing our wounds and bringing us all together. This president, in order to avoid any discussion of the facts any discussion of reality or ideas has systematically sought to rip our nation apart. Rip different groups apart, rip us apart on race, on gender, on religion, on income status. We don't do that in this country, by the way. We don't classify people. But particularly the area that breaks my heart and that worries me deeply is what he has done on the issue of gender. And a lot of us, we've talked about it already today, but this notion of the war on women, and some people say, oh, they're not really doing that. Oh, yes, they are. Again and again, they actually talk about how we Republicans, we women up here, are assaulting the rights of women. They use that lingo. We have launched an all-out war against women, an unrelenting war against women. My favorite is Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Yeah, okay, listen to what she said as she, as the uniter-in-chief is leading her. She said, I think the next act will be dragging women out of patient rooms into the street and screaming over their bodies as they get dragged out of getting access to women's health care. That's what we're going to do. That's what they want to convince women that Republicans and conservatives want to do. They talk about how we're in a war. All right, but what they don't talk about is how the left talks about women, particularly about conservative women. Juan Williams, I really like Juan, but he's a Democrat. He said, Ann Romney looks to me like a corporate wife. That's after she gave a beautiful speech. I know, can you believe that? Of course, Hillary Rosen, an Obama advisor who they say they never knew, we don't know her very well, visited the White House 36 times. She said that Ann Romney had actually never worked a day in her life. Therefore, she had no right to comment. Chairman of the Democrat Committee of South Carolina the week of their convention, Dick Harpootlian, said that he compared Nikki Haley to Eva Braun. Okay, did you hear Barack Obama call Nikki Haley to see if she was okay? Have you heard of President Obama calling Sarah Palin, Michelle Bachmann, any of the great women that we have out there, calling them after they have their children, after they have been